Welcome to Cobra Kai Never Dies. And today we're talking about the Season 1 finale, Mercy. I'm your host, Letha.
I'm your other host, Nina.
And welcome to our last episode of this season. This is actually our second time recording this episode because of some technical difficulties that happened the first time around.
It's our second pancake. It's going to be bigger and better and more epic.
It's true. I think our analysis is going to be even more nuanced than that recording that you all will never hear. To start off with the IMDb synopsis, it is the day of the 2018 All Valley Karate Tournament, and Cobra Kai is determined to win. Robbie signs up, unaffiliated. A familiar face from the past returns. What do you think of that synopsis, Nina?
You know, I think, first of all, when we were kind of discussing what questions to explore in this episode, Letha said, why is Robbie even in this tournament? And that's how I kind of feel about the synopsis, where, like, as I'm reading it or as I'm hearing you read it, I'm like, why is Robbie even in the synopsis? And he's actually, like, he has a fully fleshed out storyline throughout this season and this episode. And still, every time he shows up, I'm like, but why?
Why is Robbie here? Why is he here?
It's always a surprise when he's on screen.
Because it's just like, oh, he's just showing up at the LaRusso's house. Oh, he's just showing up at the tournament. Why? Like,
I don't know why he has... I don't know.
I'm just... Yeah, I mean, honestly...
He has no sense of presence, maybe. It always feels like he's an afterthought.
Oh.
Or an outsider, maybe. But, like, not an outsider you'd remember.
It's just interesting to me because it's like, okay, so Robbie's arc has basically been finding balance and not being the no good Nick he started out as, ditching his 40-year-old hoodlum pals
now
to hang out with Mr.
he's doing more
LaRusso.
like wholesome pranks, like faking a limp.
Yeah, things like that. Yeah. You know, he's getting better. I don't think there was ever a part of him, at least I didn't know until this exact moment, that was like, I'd really like to win a karate tournament. But okay, you know, apparently that's a thing for him.
You're saying no part of you was rooting for Robbie to win this tournament?
No. I mean, just...
Okay. In some ways, it seems inevitable that he would enter, right? Like, as soon as we heard about the All Valley tournament and we knew it was happening in the season finale...
As soon as he starts learning karate, you know he's going to enter and face off with Miguel, because that is how stories work. But it's also just kind of like...
I want to see the more, like, the less dramatic version of the show where, like, no one actually enters the tournament.
I would love to see a version of the show where none of the principal characters we followed makes it past the first round. It's like, oh, wait, you all haven't been taking karate that long. You can't, like, be
when you realize nobody's actually good at karate and they get weeded out early on. Xander wins. And
Xander Stone being the returning champion.
Yes.
I was a fan of, actually. He does a lot of flipping in his karate, which I think is to his detriment.
He has a karate mom that is super aggressive. I was paying closer attention to what she was yelling out the second time that we watched it, third time. And at one point she yells during Xander's match, "Use your arm." And it's like, okay. Thanks, Mom.
Love the encouragement that people shout.
Yeah, it's like, okay, nobody knows that much about karate and can't yell out specific actionable advice.
I love it because, as the synopsis says, Robbie enters this tournament unaffiliated. But, you know...
Is that the saddest sentence of all time?
Why don't you just call him independent? Why do you call him unaffiliated? That sounds so sad, like you're an unincorporated town. But, you know, halfway through, Daniel, who's reluctantly attending the tournament because LaRusso Auto Group is a sponsor. Eventually, like,
That's not even why he's entering. I think, like, Amanda's the one who reminds him, hey, by the way, this is how our business works.
Right, and, like, well, to be fair, at the beginning, he and Samantha are both moping because of the fallout of the last episode. As Amanda correctly points out, you know, Samantha's boyfriend turned out to be a jerk, and Daniel's boyfriend turned out to be the son of his mortal enemy. But, you know, when Daniel gets there, he kind of lets go his anger at Robbie and starts cheering for him, and at one point starts shouting sensei advice, such as, "Remember what you learned, Robbie." What? How is that helpful?
Oh my god.
Focus, Robbie. Okay, well, thanks, Mr. LaRusso. I guess I'll win this now. So karate coaching, not the greatest, although I will say... when we open with Cobra Kai, and the Cobra Kai kids are, like, wondering if Sensei Lawrence is actually going to show up because the little kid, Bert, caught him pissing on his own car the night before and, like, drunkenly yelling some stuff. I just have to say, Johnny
has all of his breakdowns in that mini mart complex.
It really does.
It's got some bad vibes
Bad
there.
mojo there.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and he's like, what is he yelling? He's yelling some pretty
he's
classic
reeling
stuff.
from the Robbie revelation, and he's discovered Nietzsche, and he's peeing on his own car, yelling,
We're all gonna die. Yeah. So Bert solemnly relates this to the other Cobra Kais, and like now they're like, well, shit. Well, maybe he's like driven off a cliff. And I like that Aisha says, Sensei would never kill himself. It's too pussy a move. Like I feel like that just sort of sums Johnny
that
up
all
in
tracks.
a nutshell. But he does show up, and he does give his students, I think, a very compelling speech.
We've all learned to strike first. To be aggressive, not be losers. Taught you to strike hard. Put every ounce of your power behind everything you do. I haven't taught you the third rule of Cobra Kai. No mercy. The older you get, the more you're gonna learn that life isn't fair. You wake up one morning feeling great, and then life throws a spinning heel kick to your balls. Takes a big steaming shit in your mouth. You get an F on a test, you get suspended, you fall in love with a girl, some other dude comes and steals her away. Car gets set on fire. Just when you think things are going good, everything falls apart. That's how it goes. Life shows no mercy, so neither do we. We do whatever it takes to keep our heads above water. We do whatever it takes to keep moving forward. We do whatever it takes to win. Remember who you are. You're badass. You don't give a shit. Kick ass. You're Cobra Kai.
What is your favorite part of that speech?
Well, as I was saying to you the first time we recorded this, I think what's interesting about the speech is that you can read No Mercy two ways. You know, you can read it as like, rah, kill your enemies before they kill you. But the way that Johnny seems to be putting it is that, like, life shows no mercy and that, like, shit is always going to happen to you.
Life will take a shit in your mouth.
Life will take a shit in your mouth. And it's not always connected to a specific person. It's just that life keeps shitting in your mouth over and over again. And I thought there was, like, something kind of compelling about what he said about, like, we're just trying to keep our heads above water. That's all we're trying to do. Like, you can think of No Mercy as just, like, you know, crush your enemies. But you can also think of it as, like, we all got to do what we got to do just to stay alive, you know? And
yeah.
I actually think that that's sort of the view of No Mercy that Johnny has come to. His students are kind of still thinking about no mercy as in, like, don't show the enemy mercy.
Yeah.
But I think Johnny's sort of holistic view of life being merciless is what it really
means.
means.
And Johnny's kind of reinterpretation of Cobra Kai wisdom comes from like 30 years of life taking a shit in his mouth. Whereas you can see why his deeper lessons are lost on the teens because, I don't know, they haven't gone through very much. Miguel is apparently like super aggressive and has turned to the dark side wholly because of his breakup with Sam. And is only taking the most literal interpretation of No Mercy.
What did you think about Miguel on the dark side?
I think it's alarming. I feel like, I don't know if they did something different with his makeup, but I feel like he even had some shadows under his eyes. I was alarmed.
It was alarming, and I also thought it was like a bit too much, you know, that he's all like, like instantly. And, you know, in the previous episode, when you see him like act out in an alarming way, like he's drunk, he's like clearly like suffered like a bit of a nervous breakdown over his girlfriend not texting him back. I'm not saying it's excused, I'm just saying that like he's in a place. But like now he's just like, watch what I do to Robbie, you know, and like even his apology to Sam is like changed with like, well, what was I supposed to do when you brought another guy to the party? And honestly, like, I just didn't buy it. I thought it was out of character. Like, he hasn't earned enough. He's not, like, the Breaking Bad moment only works if, like, they built that up for a while. And it's, like, basically he went from a sweet kid to, like, this douchebag in, like, half an episode. And it's just, the kid's a good actor. I just don't buy it.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if we've talked about this already, but the idea of Cobra Kai as a cult, I think Daniel mentions, or that's how he views Cobra Kai. And if you think of a cult as like being a place that preys on bullied, scared youth looking for kind of an emotional home, that's kind of what Cobra Kai has been to these teens. And so it's easy to kind of like activate them and like if they're defending Cobra Kai's honor, like that's what they see the All Valley tournament as.
Do you think of Cobra Kai as a cult? Are you on Team Daniel here this way?
I think in this episode, I think you can make the behavior of everyone in this tournament, like all the Cobra Kai teens were like ramped up, and only Johnny was sort of like, you didn't actually get the feeling like he wanted them to win, obviously, but he wasn't like gunning for it. He wasn't like Hawk or Miguel.
See, I guess that's what bothered me about this episode. Like the first time I saw it, I think that this show has been really good about like, well, Shades of Grey, as Dana, one of our correspondents, mentioned. It's like a great thing about the show, and that you kind of see the flaws in Johnny and Daniel, and in like Cobra Kai, but also you can see that Cobra Kai for a specific type of kid can be helpful. Like this idea of just like, don't be afraid to get hit in the face, don't be afraid to get hurt, and not necessarily like go out and like strike your enemies down immediately, but like, you know, the kind of training that Miguel and the others went through, like, yeah, it showed them that they could survive stuff and be tough. It has of course it has like its drawbacks. Of course it has a scary philosophy that is not always good for like a teenage boy to absorb. But I like that the message behind like, is Johnny Lawrence a good sensei? Yeah, sometimes he is. Sometimes he's not, but sometimes he is. Like, I liked that it's not necessarily like a yes or no answer there. And I didn't like that this episode almost seemed to be like, actually, no, he's not. And actually, Cobra Kai just makes a kid evil. Because it's like, it bothered me that every single Cobra Kai kid in this episode has just a piss-poor attitude. Like, all of them. Aisha, like, who does great in the tournament at first, but when she loses a match, she's just like, whatever, and like, you know, just so upset about it that she storms off. Hawk, who's pretty funny when he wins his first match and like rips off his shirt and does like the weird like flexing of his shoulders to make the Hawk tattoo on his back flap. You know, in like his match against Robbie, like, he basically kicks the guy when his back is turned, like once a round is over, thus getting disqualified from the tournament. And then when Johnny's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, what was I supposed to do? Be a pussy? And it's like, it's pretty pussy that you got disqualified before.
Yeah, I mean, do you think the All Valley tournament itself is some sort of giant trigger for all the teams? Like they've been hearing for the entire season,
this is the most important thing of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just kind of like, come on. Like, you can't have... this is when I got like more mad at the show and the writing than like Cobra Kai, because I'm like, it just seems like a little bit like laying it on with a shovel that every Cobra Kai kid is like an asshole in this episode. Yeah. All of them, except for maybe Bert, who's the only Cobra Kai kid that we don't see win a match.
He's too busy buying porn.
He is buying porn at the beginning of the episode when he sees a drunk Johnny. So we learn more about Bert.
Yeah. So much nuance to his character.
Right.
Do we want to go back to just the setting of All Valley?
Let's do it, yeah.
Yeah. So I love that the opening montage is just, I don't know, pretty low stakes, right? Sweeping shots at the concession stand, tickets. It's the 50th anniversary, which makes me wonder, like, and Johnny and sorry, do you think Johnny and Daniel probably attended every single year?
Not
like
Johnny.
From the bleachers?
Not Johnny, definitely.
Okay, it's
Daniel.
too traumatic for him. But Daniel is like,
yeah.
And I love that the council of like the karate council like treats him like a god. They're like, he's here,
He's
guys.
back.
He's the winner.
I mean, I've always liked how low stakes the whole thing is to everybody who's not directly involved in this world. Like, we had this discussion, like, how big a deal is karate in the Valley? And my guess is it's not a big deal for everybody who... Like, for everyone else, it's just like, oh man, they rented out the gymnasium from some bullshit. But for the people in this world, this is, like, the biggest day.
I saw a clip, actually, that it was like a kind of a fake fun clip that the show creators did, treating the All Valley like a real sporting event, and they had, like, people weighing in, like, what it was like in 1984 when the underdog from Miyagi, like... Yeah, I don't know. They made it sound like this was a seminal event in karate.
No way. I say that this
I'm going to send you that video. It was very convincing,
Have
actually.
you ever seen the movie Dodgeball?
I think so, a long time ago.
Like, the joke is that dodgeball is like a sport that's only covered by ESPN 8, or the Ocho, as they call it. This is covered by the Ocho.
Oh, come on, they fucking cover poker. This has to be a bigger deal than that.
There are a lot of ESPNs, Nina. And I think this is, like, down the numerical scale. I like that, because it's just, like, I I think the show is best when it doesn't lose its perspective that, like, most people think having a childhood karate rival is ridiculous, you know? And I think sometimes in the second season it gets a little bit up its own ass a bit too much and, like, acts like this really is a life or death battle. But I like when they're just like, no, this is a gymnasium, there's, like, a guy selling cotton candy, like, it's life and death for these kids, but not really, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I like to think of this town as being obsessed with karate, and
But the town is Los Angeles.
it's not, though.
It
I'm
totally
saying
is.
it's the valley, like
Which
the
is-
interior valley.
The valley is huge, though. There's people going about their lives who've never heard
Then
of
why
the
is everyone
tournament.
so obsessed with karate, then?
Only the people that on the show are. Like, everyone else is just like... Ugh. Like,
Why does Sam have that line that everyone we know is going to be there?
Sam knows like 3 people.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
right?
Encino
See,
Valley.
if you want the real perspective of the town, of the valley, it's through Amanda, who would not be going to this thing except she happened to marry a karate fanatic. You know, it's Amanda who's just kind of like, okay, I guess we have to go to this thing, fine. And yeah, that's, I think, what the real perspective is. But we can agree to disagree on this.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual fights, because there's actual karate in this episode.
There's so much actual
a rarity
good
for
karate,
the show,
and it's wonderful.
Yes.
I'm complaining about the characterization of Cobra Kai, but I really do love this episode just for all of the fights. I love that each kid that you've been following throughout the show gets their moments. You know, what was your favorite fight?
I actually really liked the Hawk versus Robbie fight, because
Oh, yeah?
I think it had a lot of drama. It was very short, so why don't we go in order, because I want to talk about all of them.
All right.
I have a question though. Who did you think would win out of Hawk, Robbie, Miguel, and Xander? Like, because those are the 4, right? The 4 main fights that we're seeing
So
in various combinations.
it would be really fun if Hawk or Xander had won, because again, it would have been against the rules of storytelling, but it would have been kind of like, well, subversive for just the sake of it. Never mind. But
Hawk wants it the most.
Yeah, he does want it the most. He's very aggro. But,
Xander wants world peace. So
Yeah.
karate's like a distant third priority.
I like Xander quite a bit, actually, just because he's like, you know, he's one of those douches who, like, when they announce that he's, like, made the finals, he won the finals last year, FYI. He's like, he does, like, 3 flips, then grabs the microphone, and it's not a give a speech kind of moment, but he decides to give a little speech, and he starts out like, even though I love to fight, we all need to fight together against hatred.
And he has a moment of silence to end intolerance in our time.
Yes.
Just the kind of like vague politician statement that you
Right.
might expect from.
And I love that Johnny...
We all know Xander.
We all know Xander. We all relate when Johnny whispers to Miguel to, like,
punch him
punch
in
him
the
in the face. Because he does need to be punched in the face, but I will also say that Xander is too beautiful for this world.
He also has very similar hair to Robbie.
And there can only be one, Nina.
Yeah, Jesus.
So that's why we don't
They
see Xander
love
after
hair
this.
like that. I don't know what's going on, but
Impractical for karate, I would think, but okay.
yes. So Xander fights Miguel.
I
right?
like that fight.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think it's
really
a very
good
good
fight.
fight.
They were really well matched.
And you can also see that, like, Xander has a style that involves, like, a lot more flipping, a lot more acrobatics. It's not, like, it's really impressive looking. It doesn't always help him because, like, at one point, Miguel kicks him when he's, like, at the top of an arc of a
So
jump.
now we know what Topanga Karate can bring to the table.
Yeah,
It's
I'd
very
like to see them
acrobatic
again, to be
karate.
honest.
Yeah.
I think that they've got flair. Yeah, and, like, I want to say that I really liked all the preliminary round fights. Just,
Yeah.
I don't know, because one, you got a chance to see Aisha fight, which you don't really in other cases.
Yeah,
and, like,
she ruined it by like being a sore loser, but she beat at least one person.
Right, she was good. She actually lost against Xander Stone, FYI.
Sure.
So yeah, so no shame in losing against the finalist, although she seems to be very aggravated by it. So I like the when it comes to the final fights, I liked Xander Miguel. I thought the Hawk and when Hawk fights Robbie, I was just kind of like, Hawk, man, like, do not justify you're kicking him in the back as like, oh, I wasn't going to be a pussy. It's like, now you're eliminated and Robbie's definitely going to the finals, you dumbass.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just... Did you, like, lose half your brain when you, like, got a mohawk?
That was actually, I noted the coaching from Daniel, who decides to like put aside his petty grudge against Robbie, and he says, remember what you learned. And Robbie, I guess, is like activated by this. I don't know. I guess someone's getting some use out of Daniel's teachings. I was like, it would piss me off if that's what...
Remember what you learned.
I was like, well, I may as well be unaffiliated because that was useless. I mean,
I wish
also,
you'd said that.
yeah, we both noted this last time, but at some point, Anthony LaRusso is like now pro Robbie.
Because, like, Robbie gets in, like, a good blow, and Anthony's like, wow, that's cool.
It's the only time you see Anthony really express... Anthony do anything except for eat or play games and
Or, like,
make snarky comments. Yeah.
So he has this moment where he's impressed by Karate and by Robbie. And then, even rarer, you see Daniel turn to him and say something like, pretty good, right? And it's the first time I've seen Daniel look upon his blood kin with that kind of affection.
I know. I feel like there's an entire thesis to be written about attachment theory and, like, maybe Anthony as a baby was given, like, a wire hanger to cuddle.
Right. I mean, he's so unloved, and I really do...
Yeah. And you know those kids turn out to be sociopaths. I mean...
You know, if Johnny had the presence of mind to do this, he would realize that how he feels that Daniel has stolen his son, he could do the same.
I know.
Except then he'd have to train Anthony. And also, I'm not sure if Daniel would care.
I told you, he doesn't want to take Anthony out into the woods and bond with him.
No, he's like... God, he spent so much more time fathering Robbie. It's just kind of
also
incredible.
At this point we have one season, and the only lesson we've gotten out of Daniel is balance.
Balance
right?
is good.
Balance in breathing.
Yeah, definitely.
Something you should be doing anyway. Whereas I feel like Johnny has given us countless lessons.
Life lessons.
Life lessons,
yeah,
too.
Definitely.
So, yeah, next is the Robbie and Miguel match, the final. So, yeah, I also noted that Robbie got into the finals on a technicality from an illegal kick from Hawk.
Yes, he did.
So I love the kind of symmetry, like all of these old All Valley memories. I mean, I'm just thinking from a from a therapist point of view, you would think that like both Daniel and Johnny are like in full on flashback mode.
No, they're probably like neither of them cognizant of what's going on.
Yeah,
they're on their backs
a
being
fugue
triggered
state.
by...
Like, my God.
Yeah. I'll say about the Robbie and Miguel fight, which is obviously what everything has been leading towards. You know, there's a few things here. I mean, first of all, going back to my original point, can I start learning karate now and like a year from now be a champion? Because,
yeah, it's been about, 3 months?
Well, I know it's been a year for Robbie, or not Robbie, for Miguel, because they say that. You've been training for this all year. I feel like it's been 6 months for Robbie, and I'm just kind of like, surely some of these people have like been taking karate for like 10 years, yeah? Like, right?
Well, I think so. That's why, kind of mirroring Daniel's arc, like Daniel kind of like bullshitted his way into the finals in the original movie too. Like, I don't think it was quite good enough. But
at least you knew that Johnny Lawrence had been learning karate for more than a year, I think.
That's true.
But aside from that, it's also interesting that, like, although this is the way stories work, you knew they'd have to face each other in the final and all that, it's interesting to note that Robbie and Miguel do not really know each other.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, had they spent more time building their relationship and maybe even building their rivalry, like, again, Sam is not the most compelling character and really not believable as the catalyst for all of this fury and rage, really mostly coming from Miguel. Like, Robbie's fairly calm, actually.
Yeah, but to be fair, like, one of the themes of the show is that, like, Robbie's whole arc is triggered. Like, he goes to join LaRusso Auto Group because he sees his dad hug Miguel from afar.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like, Miguel goes through his downward spiral because he sees from afar, like, Robbie having dinner with the LaRussos. And it's just, like, one, really weird that, like, you can make these assumptions, like, watching something from about 30 feet away. But also, like, they seem to know of each other. And they have an idea about each other and but like they don't know each other.
And when Miguel says he's going to like basically destroy Robbie, and you know, also we missed the scene where Robbie is injured and he's in the locker room, kind of like with the dislocated shoulder, and then Daniel, I think maybe in his best moment.
This is probably Daniel's best moment
in the entire season. Comes in and actually gives him a good talk, not about karate, of course, but about his relationship with Johnny.
No, it's actually very rational. It's very reasonable. He's basically just like, it's what it's what you should say to a kid like Robbie, actually. That it's like, look, maybe I don't like your dad, but it has nothing to do with you. Like, you have to have your own relationship with him. He's still your father. He's not a monster. He's just a guy with some demons. And I really like that. It is Daniel at his very best. And then, like, I also like that when Robbie's like, I think my shoulder is, like, too injured to continue, you have a moment where you think that Daniel's going to pop it back in place, and then he just calls for a medic. And I'm like, this is Daniel at his most rational. It's
yeah.
great. You know. It doesn't last that long, but it's good. It's good. It's
right,
good
but I think it gets him in the right headspace for that final fight with Miguel. Where did you feel like Miguel was the better fighter?
Yeah,
like I did too.
I think that honestly, he's been learning karate longer. I think that okay, I will say this. As much as we like to shit talk Robbie all the time, you may have gathered that. You may have gathered that we are not very unbiased when it comes to these rivalries.
I said some positive Robbie things in the
Like
last
what?
episode. I said he shouldn't have been thrown out by Daniel.
All right. Well, okay, you're apparently a Robbie apologist, but okay.
Why does that make me an apologist?
Listeners, you know where I stand on this, but I'm going to give Robbie a...
Sounds like you're flip-flopping all over the place.
I am, right? Like, I'm a little bit like Xander Stone that way.
Oh, God. God.
Robbie has a good moment in the fight, and it's really nice. They did build up to it. You know, like a few episodes before when they're like, Robbie and Daniel are in the woods training, and Daniel talks about that one-handed, two-legged kick that he was never able to master. And then in the previous episode, you see Robbie at the skateboard park balancing on one hand. And now in this episode, he's got one arm injured. He's basically fighting with one arm. You're kind of like, okay, what are you going to do, one arm Joe?
Were you rooting for Robbie in this final fight?
I was honestly like a little bit like, dude, like you can't use one arm. Just drop out of the fight. Like, come on. But he does get in a really good like one-handed kick, or one-handed two-legged kick. So you're like, oh, cool. Like, you know, you spent a few episodes
watching
building up to
Johnny's
this.
face during this entire fight because I was trying to figure out who he was actually rooting for in this fight. And I don't know that I came out with any like hard conclusions because, you know, I maintain that I don't think he's super invested in his relationship with Robbie. I think he's conflicted about his duty to his son because
I think
gave
he
birth to him
wishes
and
he had a
abandoned him.
relationship
Yeah,
with
but I
Robbie.
don't think he has the kind of pride and investment that he does in Miguel
Well,
that he's had for the last year.
Sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, I would say he knows Miguel better at this point. But, like, you know, there's the moment when, like, Hawk kicks Robbie in the back, and then Johnny runs over to him concerned. And Robbie, who has not yet had this balanced locker room talk from Daniel LaRusso, is just like, get away from me. You see, like, his face. Like, he wishes he had a relationship with his son. So I don't know. I think like you see like he's really torn. Really good acting from William Zabka. He like you see like the moment when spoiler Miguel wins and like basically takes Robbie out by kicking him in his injured shoulder. Like you see.
Oh yeah, and it's pretty awful. Like he like kicks him in the shoulder, and then his final move. Did I write that down? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was just, I like winced when I saw it.
Yeah, and you know, before he does it, he's like, Sensei Lawrence, I've seen his weakness. It's his shoulder. I'm like, yeah, kid, he's fighting with one hand.
And
obviously.
also, I think that Miguel would have won anyway, even without having done that. So it was completely unnecessary.
That's the thing. It's like I said, I think that they tried to make the Cobra Kais all too evil too quickly. And you're right. Like, it's almost like you really do not need to go for his injured shoulder. I mean, because like he's fighting with one hand. He got in one good, cool like one hand, two-legged kick, and way to go, Robbie. But like that's kind of all he's got right now. Like this was unnecessary.
Yeah, and Johnny has a Kreese flashback. So Kreese is, if everyone remembers, Johnny's sensei / surrogate father. Who broke his trophy and tried to kill him
after he lost the tournament against Daniel.
Yeah, pretty extreme. And he has that flashback of Kreese while he's watching Miguel beat up Robbie, and I don't know. I love that because you think he's conflicted over Cobra Kai, like as a philosophy.
Yeah, I think it's. This is the moment when he's just kind of like, maybe I fucked up.
Oh, God, was Daniel right?
Right, which is the worst moment anybody can have.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because it's like, he has been, like, although he's, like, thought of Cobra Kai as something that's changed since Kreese's day, like, he has been repping a lot of the philosophies about, like, well, no mercy. And I think this is the moment where he's like, no, this is actually pretty fucked up. Like, and again, really great acting from William Zabka. And obviously, let's face it, Johnny's character arc is the one that everybody's really here for. Well, that and Miguel. And, like, so it's really great to see him come to this moment. And yeah, Robbie loses, but like I said, I think he would have lost anyways, but Miguel loses his honor, I guess, in the process. Which is...
Yeah, and actually, we forgot to touch on, Miguel tries to talk to Sam at some point during the tournament, during one of the breaks, to apologize, and Sam is, I think, rightfully alarmed. I think she sees, like, something has shifted in him, and she tells him she doesn't recognize him, and basically leaves, and doesn't even watch the final match.
And so, like, after the match, when, like, Miguel's looking for her, she's gone. And I like that because it's this is my favorite word. It's a Pyrrhic victory for both Johnny and Miguel. Because it's like, well, Johnny has, like he's won the tournament, but, like, obviously he feels awful about everything. And with Miguel, I think he honestly associated winning the tournament with winning Sam back. And it's just like, no, two things are unconnected. Sorry. There you go. And so I did like that moment quite a bit. Like I said, I think Darth Miguel was too much too soon, but I like that he has this moment where he's, like, overjoyed, but, like, it doesn't really matter because he has lost Sam for good. Can we talk about Sam for a second?
Oh, God, must we? All right.
So I hated that scene when Aisha loses a match and, like, storms off, and then Sam follows her to, like, give her some comfort. I just hated everything about it.
I just want to salt the earth on this friendship. Let it go. We all outgrow people in our lives. Some friendships are not meant to last beyond space camp or whatever, robot camp
or whatever bonded them.
Whatever stupid camp bonded you, it's over. It's done. And Aisha has certainly moved on. I think Sam is just, what?
I don't know, running out of friends at this point, and
it totally makes sense that Sam has no friends because she has no personality at this point. I keep looking for it, and I can't identify. Maybe Astronomy and Chocolate really was as far as it went.
Maybe because it's interesting.
It tells you nothing about a person, and that is what Sam is to me. Just nothingness.
Right? Because even her like offering comfort to Aisha, it's like, oh well, you would have won if you had resorted to that sweep, and it's just like. Okay.
Yeah, they bond over kind of the power wedgie that
Aisha gave.
It's like
Sam's
they can only
friend
bond
Yasmin.
over violence or something.
Yeah. Well, like I was honestly just like, and Sam apologizes. Not really, actually. She just says like, I shouldn't have started hanging out with Yasmin and Moon. And it's like, well, okay, you did, and they bullied your friend pretty mercilessly, and you kind of stood by and you watched it happen. I mean, if I was Aisha, I'd be like, thanks, we're cool, and just not like. Aisha, come on. Like, you're not friends anymore. Just don't fucking put up with this bullshit. Like, now that she doesn't have any friends...
Would you say the problem with all of these characters is that they live in the past too much and they can't let go?
Nah. Wait, are you drawing a theme here? Is that what you're doing?
Maybe.
I mean, I think my problem is that the Sam-Aisha friendship, we have never seen it. So it's hard to, like, really root for it coming together. We've only seen Sam basically standing by, like, was Aisha's bullied by her friends.
Yeah.
Or by Sam's friends. So it's just kind of like...
Not a lot of good Sam memories.
Not a lot of good Sam memories. And then, like... And then the fact that Sam is like... And that Aisha... And that wedgie that Aisha gave Yasmin. Oh, that was amazing. It's like, actually, that was pretty disturbing to look at. And it's kind of weird that, like... Sam's like, I don't recognize Miguel anymore, but I'm cool
What
with
I envision
that.
is, like, if this show lasts, like, 10 seasons, Sam falls in with a different clique every season, and it's a different one. Like,
seriously?
Season 1, she's part of the nerd clique. Season 2 is the popular clique. Season 3, it's the biker gang.
Right, Season 4, and, like, somehow she's, like, a debate
She's hanging out with the
champion.
teachers.
Yeah, I know. It's just... Because at the end of the episode... Well, Aisha says at the end, like, you should take up karate again. We could use another girl.
She's so easily... She's very impressionable.
Because she goes home, she looks at a picture of she and her dad in, like, matching gis, and then you see her, like, execute, like, a spin kick and, like, a punch, and it's clear that she is going to get back into karate, and I'm just like, that's random. I mean, like, considering that you live with Daniel LaRusso, like, you'd think that she'd already be doing karate.
I think, but also, we've well established that karate is the path to friendship in this entire show, and all these characters need friends, and... I don't know.
Right, I suppose, yeah. I guess it's not... I guess it's not that unusual that maybe like you'd be kind of like put off with karate because your dad would stop talking about it.
It's like being
now
a
you're
smoker.
Like,
9 out of 10 of your friends are smoking. Chances are you'll probably take it up too.
Yeah, I suppose so. I also, and again, this isn't my problem with Sam. Maybe it's just a general problem I have that like some of these kids have been doing karate for like 6 months and are suddenly amazing at it. And Sam, it appears that her last karate lesson was when she was 7 years old, and but she's of course amazing at it instantly.
Yeah.
Well, all right, whatever. I mean, at this point, I do feel kind of churlish pointing out that, like, I don't think even Miguel, who I love, I don't think he would be at champion level within a year, but it's TV. Okay, fine.
But also, for a while, Miguel was Johnny's only student and was like, I don't know,
getting
like
the undivided attention.
Like,
yeah, that's true. You know, I'll buy it with Miguel.
Well, how far could you advance with private karate lessons?
All right, you know what? Maybe.
Yeah.
Sure, and he's a natural, fine.
And as we said, the reason Robbie is suddenly so good is like he took his lessons out of the dojo. He's gone off terrain.
Oh, and that's actually true in that Robbie doesn't go to school, so maybe he just
does
this
no.
full time.
And maybe he's not even really working at the dealership. I'm not sure what it takes to run an auto dealership. I think Amanda, now that we've lost Louie, Amanda and like one other employee are maybe running this business.
Because Daniel sure isn't. And in fact, so at the end of the episode, there's like a nice moment where Johnny says he's sorry to Robbie. And, Robbie, who's newly mature, this is very nice, actually. I'm not even being, like, facetious about this. He says, "It's okay, Dad." And it's this really nice, mature moment where he's, like, sort of come to terms with something, but he's also just, like, I might not have a relationship with you, Dad, but, like, it's okay. I'm not, like, holding this against you somehow. And then Daniel kind of, like, undoes his moment of maturity in the locker room by being like, "You got what you wanted, Johnny. You won." And it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
I think at this point in the season, Johnny is ready to let go of his rivalry with Daniel. Like, do you think if Cobra Kai had lost the tournament, he would still be upset, or like, I don't know. I felt like it was a very bittersweet victory for him.
Because like, if Cobra Kai had lost, that would mean that his son won, right? And I think that there'd be some pride in that.
So it's a win-win for Johnny, essentially.
Or a lose-lose, actually, more like
Maybe.
it. Because that would mean his surrogate son, Miguel, lost, So,
yeah.
So Johnny, like, I think has come to the point where, like, Miguel does win, but, like, it's just not...
Life continues to take a shit in his mouth.
Right. It's a very hollow victory in that, like, not only did his son lose, like, it seems like his relationship with his son will never be what he wants it to be, and I maintain that he wants one. And also Miguel, like, sort of fought dirty to win, and Johnny feels personally responsible for that, and all that. So anyways, Johnny, like, seems to be, like, going through an emotional moment that's, like, more than his rivalry with Daniel. But meanwhile, Daniel, who seemed, like, so mature in the locker room, like, he's basically, like, well, Robbie says something like, well, Cobra Kai is going to take over the valley now. But Daniel's like, not if I can help it. Over my dead body. And then it turns out that he has secretly been building a dojo in his backyard. Because when the fight comes to you, you've got to be ready to fight back. So
how long do you think it takes to build a dojo?
Like a while. Like 6 months or something.
I think he just put up some screens. And he just had it ready to go.
He was waiting for this moment.
He has a palace.
And like, it shouldn't bother me actually, because it's actually totally in keeping with the show and these characters who think karate is basically life and death, even when it's probably not that big a deal. But like, the idea that Daniel sees it as his moral mission to oppose the Cobra Kai dojo. And it's like, actually at its heart, Cobra Kai is not a philosophy or like an army. It's actually a business that Johnny runs. Daniel, you already have a business. It's an auto dealership.
A business you're neglecting.
Yeah.
Like a son you're neglecting.
Right. It's like, maybe you should, work on that instead of starting a dojo in your backyard, which you don't... Like, again, it's a business. You don't need to start another business on top of your business.
Yeah.
But, hey, okay, for Daniel, this is more than that.
I'm guessing Amanda doesn't know that he's been sitting there sinking... It's got to take some money to like build up a dojo in your backyard.
I guess Daniel's just never got.
He's hiding credit card bills from like Home Depot from her.
Right. She'd rather he was having an affair. I know.
Yeah. So now we get to the final kind of scene where Johnny is quite notably, not out celebrating the Cobra Kai win with his students or anything. He's just sitting quietly in his darkened office. And I think that's something like really sad about that, where you think it was all building to the All Valley tournament and this win, but it was really more about his relationship with Miguel, where it's like, you know, like when Miguel had his like successful first date with at golf and stuff, and like Johnny was able to actually get Cobra Kai in the tournament, and that was like they were bonding over that. It's like he's at the end of the season, he's theoretically gotten what he's wanted, but he's like all depressed. It's very affecting. And then a mysterious voice cuts through, and we see the silhouette of Kreese
against an orange sunset, smoking a cigar.
It was everything that I wanted from this appearance, frankly.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it could
perfect.
not have been done better.
It is perfect. And, you know, he's got some very meta dialogue about how, like, you know, everybody closed the book on us, but the story hasn't ended. Oh, it's just beginning. And then, you know.
I think they could have been, like, even hammier. I mean, the show is too well written to do that, but, like, during the All Valley, you could have, like, maybe somewhere in the bleachers.
We see a cigar.
We see a cigar and a trench coat and a figure watching calmly. I love that.
I mean, I'll say that this show is well written, but it knows when to be hammy, and it knows that this is the moment, you know, when Kreese returns.
Do you think Johnny is even surprised? Because he thought this guy was dead, and I don't think he seems...
Kreese keeps faking his own death, man.
I know.
Eventually it just gets to be like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. But Johnny's like, sure, why
not? Thus setting up season 2, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get some final thoughts on the season as a whole.
Well, I think I told you this like the first time I watched season 1, which is that like I loved it. I just thought it was like incredibly well done, and that, you know, we shit on Robbie, I know, but like characters like Johnny and Miguel and even Daniel are very complex and very well drawn, and it's just great to follow them the entire season. I did feel like this last episode, it kind of it definitely paints Johnny with more shades of gray, but kind of throws out that gray when it comes to characters like Miguel. But you know what? The second season backs away from Darth Miguel pretty quickly, which I think is good, because like I said, while the kid's a good actor, it's a bit too much to expect a kid like Miguel to suddenly be an evil villain. A kid like Hawk, and you're almost like, yeah, no, I buy it. You seem like you were waiting.
Do you think there's any
release
redemption for Hawk?
Probably somewhere. But
somewhere.
Like, yeah.
Yes.
He's young still, but like you can tell that he's like...
I think it would be a real challenge for the writers. Like, I love when they do that. It is very soapy in that, like, they'll make somebody cartoonishly evil, and then they will like drop little hints to like resuscitate the character or push them further into the edge.
It's actually interesting with Hawk because we saw his beginning. Like we saw him as this like really
sweet,
painfully shy kid who was bullied because of like his facial hair lip, and we saw him sort of like change the narrative and flip things around, and like we were really happy for him actually, and like he's getting his Hawk tattoo, and it's funny, and it's like actually like, oh man, like look at this kid like trying to be a badass. But then you see him like being this like, and obviously it gets worse in season 2 when he's like an aggro sociopath basically, and I think that weirdly enough it's like, yeah, I mean it's a huge transformation, but unlike Miguel's, you're kind of like, yeah. I mean, he's kind of like one of those, like, well, basically we were calling him like 90% incel or something like that in one episode. And it's like, yeah, he's basically somebody who has decided that he's a million miles from the person he used to be and views his prior self as like a loser nerd who needs to be extinguished, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, I don't think Miguel has that relationship with who he used to be, because I think that Miguel is ultimately still the same kid that he used to be, just with like a little more baggage than he had before, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you think of the season as a whole?
Yeah, I think similar to you, I think the characterization of Miguel, the kind of like abrupt, I don't know, Darth Miguel as we call him, it really sort of cheapened the overall storyline. But I think it was great for Johnny's characterization. And if we sort of see this whole show as kind of Johnny's narrative, Johnny taking back the narrative, like allowing we get so many, like, his bittersweet reaction to Miguel winning and Miguel's actions. I think it's worth it.
You're right, actually.
Yeah.
It cheapens Miguel's arc, but
yeah, if
it
Miguel
deepens
had stayed,
Johnny's arc.
yeah, if Miguel had stayed grounded and, like, you know, respectful, I don't know.
Then it wouldn't be this moment where Johnny sees, like, his student fighting dirty and fighting without honor, and, like, it wouldn't have that kind of, like, impact where he was like, that was me, and I do not want this kid to go down that path that I did.
Yeah, and I think also, if this show is clearly like Johnny's narrative, I think it makes sense in that Daniel doesn't show that much growth throughout the season. I mean, apart from him gaining a student and giving some, like, kind of...
He gets back into karate, but, like, it seems like he was never not into karate, so...
Yeah, as a person, as showing maturity and making good
decisions.
decisions.
I see, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, not getting involved in real estate plots and trying to get your karate rival kicked out of a tournament. I mean, things like that.
And the show... I mean, I think at one point he's like, well, now I'm not, like, about... sinking my rival. I'm getting balance back with the dojo. But yeah, no, I mean, ultimately that also turns out to be about his rivalry. So yeah, but definitely, and I think this is like a point to the show that, like, Daniel doesn't have much of an arc because Daniel's just kind of supposed to be Danieling it, right? Like, and that's fine. It's Johnny who really shows that transformation.
Yeah. I wonder if the show is going to go all the way in the other direction where Daniel just keeps getting worse and worse.
You want Darth Daniel? Is that what you want? Maybe, yeah.
I think that would be interesting if it were done in a nuanced way.
I think that
would
be
like
interesting.
He's displaying traits that are kind of annoying and immature right now, but he's essentially good. But if they said, okay, this is what happens when you're, like, a little too self-indulgent with your karate obsession and, you know,
a cautionary tale,
leaning too hard on your underdog status, and you haven't been an underdog for over 20 years. There's a new underdog in town.
Right, actually, I think
it's your actual rival.
This season... And I think it's, like, an interesting plot thread that they should go with. It's not like Daniel's, like, a bad person. He's clearly, like, a very nice person. But it's just, like, he sees himself as an underdog, even though he's not one anymore. And I like that the show is kind of aware of that, and that it's, like, you know, whenever you're in Daniel's house, you see classical music, and, like, and see that he's living, like, a really nice lifestyle. And it's just like, no, Daniel, you're not an underdog. You can reference New Jersey all you want. But, you know... Your house is... You haven't drank a Coors in your entire life.
He was always a martini man.
Yeah, inside, definitely.
Okay, so your ranking for the episode, Madame.
I say 3 crane kicks to the face as Miguel puts down his first rival in the preliminary rounds.
3? Wow, surprisingly low. Yeah, I'll give it 4. Just mostly because I really love...
4 what, Nina?
Oh, okay. 4 moments of silence against intolerance, a la Xander.
All right, you win.
Gotta give a shout out to Xander, because I don't think we ever see him again. I don't think Topanga Karate ever makes an appearance, sadly. Just because I'm here for Johnny, I'm here for Johnny's arc, and I don't think he's ever done a better job of, like, communicating his... I don't know, the complexity and the sea of emotions churning inside of him. And also, it gets the rating for the Kreese appearance. You know, you didn't realize you want something until you see it. And that's how I felt when I saw the silhouette of Kreese, and I, like...
Did you squeal?
I freaked out a little, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. It is a very, very good episode for Johnny's arc. And... You know, it's always nice to see Kreese silhouetted against the sunset, smoking a cigar. Maybe that is what I always wanted a little bit.
Make that your screensaver, Letha.
I will.
Okay.
Closing out the season, once again, because as I said, this is the second time recording this episode.
Now. Better, bigger,
bolder.
Strike first.
Strike hard.
No mercy.
Oh, shoot.
Shit, you left me hanging.
All right, let's do that again.
Do I even want to at this
point?
Come on.
Come on.
Okay, strike first.
Strike hard.
No mercy.